Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition of Last Bell Boxing. Joined by regulars as always. Daz, how are you, pal?
Hi, mate. You all right?
Very good. Sean, how you keeping, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. And Lee, how are you, fella?
Good, thank you, mate. Very well.
Got quite a busy card tonight. Quite a busy show, I should say. So we'll crack straight on with the first topic, which is going to be today. Conor Benn was suspended by, officially suspended by UKAD. It came out yesterday that he was provisionally suspended. Today, he's fully suspended. And by all accounts, this has come as a complete surprise to his team. He's managed by Charlie Sims, who is Tony Sims' son. And he found out about the full suspension when he walked into the press conference today and a journalist went up to him and said, "Have you seen this?" Which, whether you agree with what's going on with Conor Benn or not, that's bang out of order. How can a fighter's team not know from a doping agency that one of their fighters is suspended before it's leaked into the papers? Apparently, it was the Mail that released it today. But they found out about it, and then the media found out about it before Tony Sims, who's Conor Benn's manager, found out about it. Sorry, Charlie Sims, who's Conor Benn's manager, found out about it. Daz, I know this is quite a spiky topic for you. So I'll come to you first, mate. What's your thoughts on what's happened with UKAD today?
I find it hard to believe that his team didn't know.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, they also said that he hadn't took performance-enhancing drugs, and I find that hard to believe as well. The whole situation is an absolute... I'll be honest with you, mate. I've switched off a lot from it. I'm like, it's boring me now, to be fair. I'm just bored with it. I just can't be doing with it. But I'll speak about it because I've come on this show, and obviously I'm not going to just sit here silent. You want my opinion on it? My opinion on it is I want a conclusion to it. Either way, I just want a conclusion. And do you know what, mate? I'll look at it like this: if he's done it, if he's cheated, if he's took whatever it is, chlorophene to mask a cycle, then he's put people's lives at risk, right? Yeah. And he should be banned for life. He deserves everything he gets. If he's not knowingly ingested whatever he's supposed to have injected whatever, but it's in his system, then he needs dealing with according to that. Do you know what I mean? Still needs something happening.
Yeah.
But obviously it'd be a bit lenient than him knowingly cheating. Thirdly, I'd say if he goes down, if he just it seems to me to be just sort of brushing the British Boxing Board of Control aside. He seems to be just ignoring it. Oh, I'm not licensed by them anyway. I'll go and ply my trade elsewhere. I mean, is that really a credible thing for him to do? I mean, I don't know, mate. I don't think that looks great either, to be honest. But I just want a conclusion. A conclusion to it, because it's a farce.
So, I watched an interview today where Charlie Sims is giving a bit of an explanation as to what's going on and why they haven't released this big document that they've got, this 200-page document. So apparently they tied under some legal wranglings, which is why it can't come out to the public. They've given it to UKAD, who are apparently looking through it. Charlie Sims says there's lots of damning evidence in there about VADA and about the way VADA have gone about stuff. he said, what he actually said was, there's no point giving it to the British Boxing Board because they have no say. They're regulated by what UKAD say because UKAD is their anti-doping agency. So UKAD make the decisions and then the British Boxing Board follow it, apparently.
Yeah. Do you know what, though? I'm like, I mean, it's in it, whatever it were in his system, we can't argue with that.
Yep.
You know, that's irrelevant. Whatever it is, they found in his system. Now, if he's got an explanation for why that's in his system, or how it could have come to have got in his system, not through his own knowledge, then why is he not? You know, why has he not just said, "Look, I don't know. You know, this. I think it's happened this way. I think this has happened. I hold my hands up. I was silly for taking this supplement or whatever, for putting myself at risk. I accept. I accept punishment." But he's acting like he's being hard done to. Mate, you've been found with something that you shouldn't have in your system.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, listen, I mean, I find it hard to swallow as well. And I know I've seen a few things that apparently people were saying Tony Sims and that must be in on it. I find that hard to believe. I don't think Tony Sims would, he seems a good guy, and he's I think I really rate him as a trainer as well, obviously. But I think it's just a mess. I think it's just a massive mess, and it's like, end of the day, Connor's got it in his system. If he's got it in knowingly, he deserves to be banned for life, or whatever harsh ban they throw at him.
2 years.
I mean, to be fair, mate, I think if he's knowingly done it, mate, that's not long enough. Because let's be honest, he's absolutely smashed a couple of fighters to bits that come.
And I understand. I understand where you're coming from with that, because lots and lots of people are thinking that same thing. Has he been taking other things over the last year or 2 years that's made this massive improvement curve? Because I talk about that a lot on this show, about how impressed I've been with how much he's improved.
Yeah, mate. I would say
since that Pinal fight, when in my opinion he lost that first fight. Since that fight, he's come on drastically. Now, I'm not saying for 1 second it's because he's on drugs.
No,
I don't want to see that.
No, do you know what though? This situation has tainted them victories, because if he is innocent and it's just happened to be in his system, Van Heerden and Algeria, well, obviously he's splattered us because they're on juice. Do you know what I mean? It takes away a little bit. Alex, I'm a big Conor Benn fan. He definitely
needs to clear his name down there.
I mean, have they ever? What I'll say is, and I think Lee and Sean can comment on this as well. Are they ever really going to prove beyond a doubt whether he did it intentionally or not?
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's never bar him coming out and saying, "Listen, I cheated. I did it on purpose." It's not going to happen, is it?
No, of course.
So I think what we're doing, it's going to just go around in circles and circles. And I mean, this 270-page document, but sounds of it's just slagging VADA off and saying that they did things that, wrong or whatever. But the fact is, the test results showed that was in his system. Do you know what I mean? That's what it boils down to me. So why not, just put your hands up and say, look, I did not know, I didn't knowingly cheat. But then again, is someone at the board or whoever going to make a decision and say, well, I don't believe him, I'm giving you a 2-year ban? It's a mess. It's not great for boxing. It's a mess.
Lee, you want to jump in?
I'm kind of on the same opinion as Daz. I was quite a sort of, no, I wouldn't say on Connor's side, but willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Sat on the fence a little bit with it, but I'm so fed up of it now as well. To me, it's got to that point where, regardless of whether he's taken it intentionally or not, I think he needs to either prove it or take the ban. They're the only two options. And the weird thing, like the British Boxing Board of Control, as I've said many times, have handled this appallingly, but so have Team Ben. They've handled it absolutely appallingly. I know a lot of people giving Eddie Hearn grief, but he's going to stick with his fighter until he's proven guilty, isn't he? So
Yeah.
he's still his promoter at the end of the day, and he has come out and said he wants the board and Conor Benn to get their heads together and try and figure this whole thing out. So he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't think you can feel like it's too much his fault, but people will because it's Eddie Hearn. But yeah, I think he's got, for me, he's either got to prove his innocence or take his ban. That's all, to me, that's all there is to it.
Sean, what's your feelings, mate?
Yeah, I agree with what the lad said, really. I think Conor Benn is just acting like a petulant teenager, really. Every time the board or UCAD put out a statement, he just misses it out of hand. And I think he hasn't painted himself in any good light during this process at all, really. But we speak about grey areas a lot with this of late. And another one that's come up is, how can UCAD ban him when he passed their test? I mean, that's the bit I don't understand. I could understand if he failed a test for them, but he didn't. So again, it's just another grey area on this situation, which is a bad light for the sport.
It seems a bit odd, don't it? That the agency that found the stuff in his system have now cleared him, and he's back on the WBC ranking system. The agency that didn't find anything, that were doing testing at exactly the same time, are now banning him. It makes once again, mate, boxing being dragged into the gutter makes no sense. We need clarity, don't we? One way or the other, but not just for this case, for fighters going forward. A couple of comments in the sidebar. Do you want to pick those up for me, Lee?
Yeah, so Joe, he said Ben, Hearn and the whole team are a disgrace and they've alienated the fans, completely disrespected the British Boxing Board of Control. VADA, UCAD needs a long ban. Joe, I think some of those parties that you've said that they've alienated are at fault as well. He's also said it doesn't matter if it was intentional or not. He's got a Clomid and masking agent for harder peds in his system. It should be a 2-year ban for each failed test. UCAD have a strict liability red line. Fair enough. I can see his point on that, but yeah,
it's likely to fall that way, isn't it? Which means if he gets banned by UCAD, is he still available to fight elsewhere?
I would find it hard to believe that someone else would give him a license to box elsewhere.
Because
I don't think he'd be able to box.
You don't think he'd be able to box?
Not if you can.
So when this was October, was it?
Yeah.
This happened. So
yeah, but it'll go back to the first one on it, which was like June or July last year.
Right. So we're almost okay. So we're not far off a year then already. So he'll actually only have a year to serve, if that's the case. They're still talking about getting him a fight. Would you believe? Even though this has happened today, that was a question that was put to Charlie Sims. And
Eddie Hearn can't promote it. Eddie Hearn is not allowed to promote it directly, so he would need to get somebody else to promote that fight now.
Anyone with a British Boxing Board of Control license cannot be involved with it.
Can they not?
No.
Tony Sims. Does that go for his trainers and coaches?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, anyone with a board license cannot be involved.
Yeah.
Also face.
I can't see him fighting now, mate. If I'm being honest, I think he's gonna have to have a hearing and wait for the decision. I don't think he boxes now, not until it's sorted.
Well, okay. I think we'd better wait to see how this pans out over the next week or so, because I'm sure there's going to be some fallout of what's happened today. I think we move on to the next topic, guys.
Well, he's talking, before we move on, they were talking about him going to America, weren't they? A little
Yeah.
bit. And you know what does that mean? Does that mean he's thinking of going there to American basing himself there?
Until
Yeah.
the
No.
British Boxing Board say you can
No,
come
I mean permanently.
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I mean.
He's got no fan base over there, though, has he? So I find that
No,
difficult
I mean,
to believe that that'd be a permanent thing.
But I'd think if UKAD ban him, he can't even do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that pans out. Right. We've got some fantastic boxing over the weekend. In my opinion, I mentioned this to the lads before we went live. I actually think this is one of the best DAZN cards for quite some time. Stacked 2 world titles, a British title, a European title, and a WBA Continental. So there's quite a bit going off on this card. Out in Cardiff, which is always a brilliant atmosphere, and we'll come on to Cordina very shortly. But in my opinion, this is redemption because he should never have lost that title in the first place. But we'll start on a bit lower down the card. Sky Nicholson is in a fight with quite a tough cookie in Linda Letcher, who is sat at 15-6-2, and recently went in with Ryan Chapman,
Ravens,
who took to a unanimous decision 10-round points win. So very tough. This is probably on paper Sky Nicholson's toughest fight. Daz, I'll come to you first. Obviously, with you training Nick, you've got your pulse, your finger on the pulse with female fighting. Are you impressed with what you've seen so far with Sky Nicholson?
Not really, not overly. In spots,
she's come in with a good amateur pedigree, obviously.
Yeah, in spots, yeah, in spots I have. Spots I've been impressed. I think they're gearing up for a clash with Raven Chapman at some point. This is what it seems like.
Did I say Ryan Chapman?
Yeah, I said Raven. Yeah,
sorry, apologies.
Fighting men, she must be good. She's a good fighter. Yeah, she's a good fighter. Sky, no two ways about it. But out of the two, I'm more of a Raven Chapman fan, if I'm honest.
I think you'll find that'll happen next. And Eddie Hearn don't do things for the sake of doing them. He's picked this fighter knowing Raven Chapman's been in with her already.
Yeah.
So there's a direct comparison there, right? Depending on what Sky Nicholson does in this fight, I think you'll see that Raven Chapman fight next.
You see, I don't think she beats Raven Chapman. I think Raven Chapman beats her. No matter what Sky Nicholson does in this fight, if she looks spectacular, I still think Raven Chapman beats her. Big fan of Raven Chapman.
Lee, I'll come to you. Do you think Sky Nicholson's a bit stuck in a style? She's still got that bouncy amateur style, hasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matchroom have obviously put a lot into her, and I think they obviously think that she is going to be the next sort of star of the female sort of scene. But I'm kind of agree with Daz. I don't think she's looked spectacular so far. She's before the bell this weekend as well, I believe, actually.
Yeah, so, she is, yeah.
Can't say I know a lot about her opponent, but her record looks like it is a bit of a step up. I'd imagine she comes through it quite comfortably, probably a point swim. But
I think Raven handled this girl quite easy. I didn't see the fight, but I think she dropped her as well, Raven.
Right.
I think she dropped her and comfortably beat her. So
Sky's got to look good, really, for that fight to get made. I would think. Sean, coming on to you, mate.
Yeah, I agree again with what's already been said. I think with Matchroom and Nicholson, I think with their sort of moving to Australia as well, they can't afford for her to lose at the minute. So I think they're just going to sort of keep her ticking along and then maybe look for a world title in the next year or so, I think.
Do you think the plan long term is that they're gonna make massive fights for her back in Australia?
Yeah. Apparently, she's quite popular in Brisbane, where she's from, and I think that's where they got a few of their fighters based. So I guess that's what they're targeting.
Right, makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I know she's had a lot of fights over here, but that's obviously to build her a profile in the UK. So then you get a lot of UK buys going on top of that Brisbane following, don't you?
Yeah.
See how it pans out. Moving on then. Jordan Thompson, who's starting to make waves in the cruiserweight division. He's going in against Luke Watkins for the IBF European title. Now, Luke Watkins is no mug, 16-2. He's already been in with Isaac Chamberlain, who took him to points, and Lawrence Okoli, who beat him in, I think, 2 or 3 rounds when they fought a few years back. Jordan Thompson, though, looking quite dangerous. He's just moved to the Sims camp, I understand. And I think this is the first fight he's having under Tony Sims. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
I'll start with you on this one, Lee. Are you impressed with Jordan Thompson?
Kind of. I don't think he's been in with anyone of note that I think it's hard. Yeah, he's not been in with anyone of real note yet. For me, not to see his level. Now, I think that's on a global scale. I don't think it's the best division, but on a British scale, on a British level, I think we've got some cracking cruiserweights. There's some brilliant fights out there for him. Yeah, I don't know. I think he comes through this well Saturday night, but then I think they've got to start moving on him a little bit.
Does Luke Watkins give him any trouble here?
I think he'll provide a bit of a yardstick. Yeah. You know, we'll see a little bit of what Jordan's got and Jordan's about. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely, I think, his best opponent to date, without a doubt. So yeah, we'll get a bit of a yardstick here. I mean, I think Luke will still have ambition, you know, and Luke's a fairly decent puncher himself.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a bit of a yardstick. You know, we'll see what Jordan Brown's about, I think.
Is there a bit of a worry that when he's changed, when you change trainer like that, is there a bit of a worry that it takes a bit of time to bed in and get comfortable and be? You got to be very confident with your trainer, ain't you? And the trainer's got to be very confident with the fighter. Is there a bit of a worry that you might not get the best Jordan Thompson because of that?
I don't think so. I think if I'm a big believer in, listen, let's not try and run before we can walk. You know, let's just keep to fundamentals. These things if you see that Tony Sims, I'm sure, is going to tweak and stuff like that. But you know, do it. I mean, to be fair, with the thing behind Jordan, he should be able to use them fundamentals and win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Let's say, for instance, Tony Sims sees him dropping his hands, you know, a bit too much, or he stays, he throws and then admires it too much. You know, I'm sure Tony Sims, you can add little bits to that, you know, a bit of head movement, bit of stepping off to the side. And I don't think it's going to take away from, you know, from Jordan. I think also Jordan might have a bit of a confidence boost switching trainers. You know, it might work in a positive way for him. You know, he might, Tony Sims might see things that Jordan's old trainer didn't, point them out, and Jordan's like ecstatic with that. Because that's what you want, I think, as a fighter.
Yeah.
You know, you want a trainer to spot things that you've been doing wrong and to, let's correct him.
Or add on to what you've got as that's a weapon, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a big believer myself that, within reason, if a fighter is doing something wrong, then in a certain situation that can be the right thing. But it's all about picking that situation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm not a big believer in telling a fighter who I don't know. It's hard to pick an example without thinking a fighter, but you just think let's say they drop their hand a little bit, drop the left hand off at jab. There's a time when really, I mean, you could do that to draw a shot. You could do it on purpose, turn it into a feint. Drop it, draw something, and then counter. You know what I mean? It's complicated. It's hard to explain. It's how my mind works. You know what I mean? I get very thingy. I try to not take things away because if something can be used as a positive, I like to use it. Just pick the situation.
Sean, what chance do you give Luke Watkins in this?
Very little, I think. I rate Jordan Thompson quite highly, and I think if it wasn't for injuries and inactivity, I think he'll be a lot further along than what he is. And providing he comes through and Chamberlain comes through on the CBS card, I would like to see that fight in the autumn. I think that's a good fight for both of them next.
I want to apologise for calling Jordan Brown for some reason.
Interesting. Isaac Chamberlain's been in with Luke Watkins, isn't it? And they've made this Watkins fight. Again, might be another one where Eddie Hearn's trying to do the comparison so they can make the fight afterwards. How far's Jordan Thompson off from fighting the best of the British bunch, as Lee pointed out earlier on?
Oh, probably about a year, I would say, just because where he is in his career, and he's not really had the European level fighters like most of them guys have had.
Would you throw him in with like Vidal Riley in that though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably a perfect fight for him, really. But I think Vidal Riley would get more than that than Thompson would. I think.
Vidal Riley's come on tremendously in the last year or so.
Yeah, but have you seen his fight that he's announced this week?
No, who's he fighting?
Anish Taj again.
Why?
He's literally just fought him and he's fighting him again.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
That didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, they're going again on the Adam Azim card on, is it June the 10th or something like that? Yeah.
There's not been a pull-out, has there? And he's had to get another fighter.
No. That was the initial. Yeah. Very strange.
Okay. Moving on then. Zelfa Barrett, coming off of the really good performance early on against Rakhimov, is in for the WBA Continental Super Featherweight title against Jason Sanchez. I don't know a lot about Jason Sanchez, but back in 2019, he fought Oscar Valdez. Valdez beat him on a unanimous decision. His record looks pretty good. 16-3 with 9 KOs. Zelfa Barrett for me is I rate him a lot. And I think he gave Rakhimov loads and loads and loads of trouble early in that fight. Now, I'm not sure quite how or what happened for him to unravel because it seemed to happen really quickly. But it looked like he got a bit of an injury. Now, whether that was because Rakhimov was putting the pressure on or whether he just got the injury and his style is back foot, slick back foot boxing and a lot of movement. And if you get an injury in your leg, like it seemed like he did, then you're taking your game plan away, aren't you? There's not a lot he can do from that point. Daz, I'll come to you first. Do you think Zelfa Barrett is world level?
He showed he were in spots against Rakhimov. It's hard, isn't it? It's I mean his skill set's great. I think he lacks a bit of power at that level, but I mean, he showed in spots that he can box at that level. I actually don't mind. I actually prefer this fight to the original one.
Right.
I actually prefer this to Dil Magani, to be fair.
Yeah, that fight shouldn't have been made anyway, let's be honest.
No, I actually prefer this. I mean, this kid's obviously tough. He's gone distance with Oscar Valdez. He's obviously tough. What I hope he's coming over with a lot of ambition.
Yeah. You never know, do you? That's the only problem when you bring these.
He's already got another fight booked in on BoxRec in a couple of months.
Well, that probably tells you all you need to know, then, does, don't it?
I don't. But to be fair to him, that just could be BoxRec not taking that off. It could, that's probably it's not his fault. It could.
Yeah. There's a very good chance of that. You're right.
I hope he's come over and because Zelfa Barrett's stock went up really after that last fight.
I agree. So
this is a chance for the American geezer to put his stock up as well. So yeah, it's a good fight. Like I said, I think I prefer it. I think it's a better fight than Dil Magani fight. Definitely so.
Sean, if Zelfa Barrett, as we expect, if he comes through this fight looking quite good doing it, do you think he's in with a shout of getting the winner of Cordina Rakhimov again?
Yeah, I do, and I think that's exactly why he's on this card as well. I imagine he's probably on there fairly high up, and if he comes through and Cordina comes through with no injuries, I imagine it's a sort of fight that they could announce in the ring straight after.
Cordina's his team are already talking about the potentials of unifications if he comes through this fight. They may be overlooking Zelfa Barrett a little bit, but Eddie Hearn, I think you might be right. He's looking at how much money that's going to make. Because that's a massive domestic.
They need to focus on Rakhimov, mate.
Oh no, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I don't think Cordina's overlooking him. Not 1 second, but certain members of his team are.
Yeah, it's hard though, mate. When you're a fighter and your team are talking about this. Do you know what I mean? They should be concentrating on that geezer in other corner Saturday night because he is an handful.
Yeah, I agree.
He is a major handful. This is by no means a foregone conclusion.
I said the same before you come on, Daz, before we went on. The exact same thing.
Yeah, by no means. This guy is a serious operator.
Come on then, Lee. Give us your prediction of how you think this fight goes.
I'm gonna pick Rakhimov. I think people are sleeping on him a bit. I think people think it is.
No, I'm on about the Zelfa Barrett fight.
Oh, sorry, the Barrett fight. Yeah,
in a minute.
I don't think Sanchez is going to give him too many problems, but yeah, like you said, you never really know with a late replacement. You never really know what you're going to get, do you? But I agree. I liked the other fight. I just didn't like the conditions it was under. He'd had pneumonia or something like that, and he wasn't well. So that fight never should have been made in the first place. But yeah, Zelfa Barrett will come through this comfortably.
Okay, guys, feel free to comment in the sidebar. We'll read everything out that you put on there. Moving on, Gavin Gwynn against Craig Woodruff for the British lightweight title. This is a rematch for a majority draw decision last time out. I didn't actually see that fight. Did any of you lads watch it?
Yeah.
What was your opinion about that fight went, Lee?
I thought Gwynn done enough, personally.
He won on one of the cards, and then obviously got the two draws on the others.
He done enough for me, but yeah, I think he'll win it. I think he'll win it more. Well, he didn't win last, but I think he'll win comfortably on Saturday night.
Neither of them seem to be big punches at this weight, though.
No, not huge.
Gavin Gwynn's only got 3 knockouts in his 15 wins, and Craig has only got 4 in his 12. Craig's been in with some talented fighters, though, but he's not out very often. So back in 2014, he fought Luke Campbell and Martin J. Ward. Luke Campbell took him to points, and Martin J. Ward beat him in 4. Of a 6-round fight, and then in 2020 he fought Gary Cully, that also went to points. But he's not out a lot each year, which probably tells you. I mean, back in 2014, and he's only got 19 fights on his record. So yeah, it's that might be something that he needs to work on. Getting out a bit more often is gonna keep you sharp, isn't it? And I don't know, maybe that will play into Gavin Gwyn's hands here. Sean, what's your feeling on the fight?
Yeah, I think Gwyn will win. I think the trouble with it is, where they're necessarily not both big punchers, is it makes it closer than what it is in terms of their boxing ability, because they both look so even during the fight. But I think for Gwyn, he needs to be more active in the fight, produce a bit more output, and I think he'll win on points.
Daz, did you see the first fight?
I did, but it's not one that really sticks in my mind. I think it was a good fight, decent fight. And from what I remember, I did think Gwyn probably did enough, and I think he'll do the same this one, a bit more convincing. But yeah, like I say, it's two fighters like that who aren't really big punchers. It does breed for action, doesn't it? Does breed for an action-packed fight. So I think it'll be a good fight.
I see. I apart from Rakhimov Cordina, I see this being probably the fight of the night.
Could well be.
It'll be a real tear up. Okay, moving on to somebody that I have a lot of respect for as a fighter in Sandy Ryan, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So Sandy Ryan is fighting for the vacant WBO welterweight title against Maria Hall. Is it pronounced?
Close enough.
Close enough. Okay.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
I'm happy with that then. I tell you why I've got a lot of respect for Sandy Ryan, because she dares to be great. So she was 3 fights in, and she goes in against a very, very tough and experienced fighter in Erica Farias. On the Lee Wood, Michael Conlon undercard, I believe.
Yeah.
And she come up short in that fight. Lack of experience, in my opinion, was the problem there. But she didn't cry about that and take a couple of easy comeback fights to build a confidence. What did she do? She jumped straight back in with her the next fight, and dominates as well, by the way. So she's learned a hell of a lot in that first fight. Come back and dominated her in the second fight, and now she's only 6 fights in, and she's fighting for a world title. It's a shame we don't get more of this in male boxing, because you get too many fighters fighting easy tickovers to make them look good, to pad out the records. Do what Sandy Ryan's done. Get stuck in. Don't be scared to lose. So a lot of respect, in my opinion, for Sandy Ryan. Daz, again, I'll come to you first. What's your opinion on Sandy Ryan? What's your opinion on the style? How do you think she's progressed so far in the 6 fights she's had as a pro?
You know my opinion on Sandy Ryan. I like Sandy Ryan. Very, very, very impressive, Sandy Ryan. I actually think Sandy Ryan ends up beating Chantel Cameron at some point.
Wow.
That's a big
statement, that, mate.
Listen, I truly, Sandy Ryan is class. I'm not saying Chantel's not, but Sandy Ryan is going to be the best fighter in her division in the world.
I like that fight, though. I do like that fight.
Yeah, Sandy Ryan.
Not ready for it yet, though.
No, I'm not saying yet. But listen, Sandy Ryan is. You just have to watch her. Listen, she fights. I don't want to say she fights like a man, because that's disrespectful to women fighters. But she transitions from head to body. She works the body. You don't see. Listen, there's not a lot of women fighters who work the body. A lot of it's a lot of headhunting. Yeah, I mean, Sandy Ryan's classmate, and she's only going to get better.
Yeah, I agree.
She's going to get better, and I think Sandy Ryan will be the best fighter in her division in the world, and I really think that it's going to happen here in Chantel at some point. And my pick will be I think Sandy Ryan. At least I'm a massive fan of Chantel Cameron. I think Chantel's going to be Katie Taylor.
So do I.
But I like what I see with Sandy Ryan. I just look and think, you know what? She's class. I just like everything what she does. And especially what you touched on earlier. I like the fact that she lost that fight. She just thought, right, I know what I did wrong, what I could have done, what I didn't do. Let's rectify it. And she did.
Before I come to you two lads, I need to pick up this comment in the side from Carl. I think I don't know what you're smoking tonight, Carl. Sandy, he's put this fight is as much of a gimme as Joshua v Martin was. Behave, mate. Sandy Ryan sat at number 2 in the rankings, and Marie Hall sat at number 6. It's not as anywhere near as wide as Martin Joshua. You're making it sound like you think Eddie Hearn's bought the world title. Correct me if I'm wrong in my assumption there. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to Sandy Ryan, I've got to be honest. Real tough gym she comes out of as well, Daz. Clifton Mitchell gym in Derby.
Yeah, tough man, Clifton as well.
He takes no crap, does he, Clifton Mitchell?
No, I've been on end of a couple of his punches in my time. Nice fella though.
Yeah.
He's done a great job with Sandy as well.
Absolutely agree, mate.
Yeah.
Sean, I'll come to you next. Firstly, what's your opinion on Sandy Ryan's progression and does she win this fight?
Yeah, I agree with what you said at the start, really, about how she's jumped in. She doesn't really care. Well, I wouldn't say she don't care about losing, but she's not scared of losing, put it that way. And I think that she'll come through. I think one of her assets as well is she's spiteful and aggressive, and you don't often see that in a lot of the women's boxing. So I think that will certainly help her in this fight, and I expect her to win potentially a late stoppage.
They are talking as well about already, which I'm not overly keen of, but they're already talking about Sandy facing McCaskill if she wins this fight. There's a little bit of talk about that earlier, and you know that's an interesting point to me because you know while you're a world, if she wins it, which I fully think she will. Is that the right fight to make next?
No.
For it all? Or,
No.
You know, but you win a world title, you should be able to go in with the other best in the world. But
mate, I said it the other night about Daniel Dubois, didn't I? So I can't be two-faced and say it differently this time.
I think personally, mate, that I think Sandy's going to win. I think a couple of defenses. You know, maybe one defense and then both of McCaskill and Ryan fight on the same card and then do it.
So Carl's put McCaskill fight has already signed after this gimme fight for Ryan. Behave yourself, Carl. It's not a gimme fight.
How do you know it's signed, Carl?
What I would say, Daz, is the same as you. I'll come to you in a second, Lee. What I would say, Daz, is the same as you. I think she wins this, and I would then give her a couple of defenses.
Oh,
just that's experience at world level, and because she's basically going to be headlining from now on, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, give her if she wins it, give her a defense, and then let her and McCaskill get on the same card.
She can't headline shows, mate.
She's not going to be far off though, Lee. She's going to be like maybe second, like she's now. So like she's going to be on Saturday night, second on the bill, if not headlining her own show. But
she won't.
The thing is, when she goes in against McCaskill, you've got a lot of experience there on McCaskill's side. She knows all the little tricks, and that might be the difference in the fight. I'd give Sandy a little bit more experience, even if it is one or two defenses, before I chucked her in.
Yeah, I mean. I'd do that, yeah. I'd give her, maybe a defense and then maybe a McCaskill box on the same card, build it up. But I do sort of agree. I don't think she will headline. She might co-main with something, but I don't think she'll headline, on her own. I even think the McCaskill fight would be a co-main with something.
Yeah, you might be right. So Carl's put McCaskill's trainer and Eddie Earn have both confirmed in IFL interviews.
Well, I mean, listen, that's if they feel that if Sandy wins his fight, she's then ready to. Listen, I'm not saying she couldn't win, but I think it's a bit harder in, after this fight than it would be in 2 or 3 fights for her.
So this goes back to what I said at the start, and having the respect I've got for Sandy Ryan. She dares to be great, and her team dare to be great. They've got a lot of confidence in her, and they'll do what they believe is right to put her in that position, and they're not afraid to lose. That's the difference here between what Sandy's doing and what a lot of male fighters do. They're scared to lose because they think that's their gravy train gone then. Whereas you can learn a lot from a loss, like Sandy did from that Erica Farias fight. You learn a lot. She learned so much in that fight and come back. Look what she did in the rematch. Sean, what's your reaction to what Cole's put about the McCaskill fight being made?
Yeah, I think in boxing, no matter what level you're at, and particularly at world level, once you're there, aren't you? So you can't really turn back and have sort of lower level fights. But having said that, I think for Sandy Ryan, where she's so inexperienced as a professional, she probably needs a couple of defences and then look at that fight maybe early next year.
Yeah, you could get. I mean, she wins this fight. You could get a couple more fights this year.
Yeah.
One in the summer, one at the end of the year, and then make the McCaskill fight March, April next year.
Yeah.
Why not? Again, dare to be great. I can't say enough about the attitude of that gym and the attitude of Sandy Ryan. Really, just spot on. Okay, moving swiftly on to the headliner, which I think is an outstanding fight. And by the way, Joe Cordina, in my opinion, is the rightful belt holder. He should never have been stripped. That was an absolute disgrace that they took it off in the way they took it off him. He wasn't like he refused to fight. He was injured. Bang out of order from the IBF. So I want Cordina to win anyway, but I want him to win even more for that reason. Okay, we'll come to you first, Sean. Break down the fight for me. Tell me how it pans out.
First of all, it's a really good fight, and I'm looking forward to it. Out of all the fights this weekend, I've got to admit that. I think Cordina is going to have tricky moments in the fight. He may even have to get up off the floor. But I just think with what's happened and him losing the belt by not his own fault, I think he's going to win, probably stop him around 10-11.
Lee?
I think it's a tough fight. I like the fight. I'm excited for it. But yeah, I think it's a tough fight. I think a lot of people think it's a foregone conclusion. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Rakhimov win. I think 4-1 on Rakhimov's crazy. I think that's crazy odds. I understand Cordina's a favourite. And yeah, smart money probably is on him. But I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't want to bet against Rakhimov, put it that way.
Come on then, Lee. Don't stay on the fence, mate. We don't do splinters.
I'm saying Rakhimov, round 9.
Rakhimov, round 9.
Mm.
Wow, okay. Just before I come to you, Daz, I think this comes from Joe in the sidebar. I hate that phrase. It's only when fighters lose a big fight. Oh, I dared to be great. No, it's not, Joe. It's for fighters that dare to take a challenge. That's what it is. Fighters that shouldn't be fighting the fights when they're fighting them, but they do it anyway because they dare to take the challenge because they believe in themselves, even if the record don't stand up to that. Yes, I don't quite agree with you there, Joe, but come on then, Daz. Let's have your breakdown, mate.
I think Rakhimov stops him late on. I just think he stops him, wears him down. Cordina's not really a big hitter, mate.
I disagree there, mate.
No, I don't think. I think he can dig a little bit, but he's sharp with his punches. But I don't think he's going to deter this kid.
I think his record is a bit deceiving.
Yeah, I mean,
9 knockouts out of 15 because I think he's grown into it.
I think his win last year is deceiving.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
That's what I was just going to say. The knockout he scored last time out, I think that flatters his power. It was perfect. Listen, timing is everything. Speed is power. I'm a big believer in that. But this kid, in that kid, he's a lot better. And like he's just pointing out, 4-1, mate, is crazy.
Mm.
It's absolutely crazy. This kid's quality. Listen, I hope Cordina wins, but no, I think Rakimov's going to stop him later on.
I agree with you that it's a close fight. It's a very, very good fight. I honestly think that Zelfa Barrett gave the blueprint on how to beat Rakimov.
And what happened? Did Zelfa win?
No, but only because Zelfa broke down, in my opinion. I thought Zelfa was brilliant for the first half.
Or did he get broken down?
No, he didn't get broken down because he didn't get Rakimov didn't land on him for 3 or 4 rounds.
Only takes one.
No, I'm not wearing that. I think Rakimov's good, mate. He's very, very strong. I'll tell you what he reminds me of. He reminds me of a smaller version of Beterbiev.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Golovkin.
No, Beterbiev. That kind of cold, come forward, don't care what he takes type of fighter.
Yeah.
If he's that, Cordina's in trouble.
If he's a smaller version, I was just going to say, if he's a smaller version of Beterbiev, mate, Cordina's in even more trouble.
No, but the point I'm making is...
No, the style-wise, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I was making the point of. Yeah. I don't think for a second he's anywhere near that level of...
I get what you mean.
Beterbiev. I really don't. He's a very, very good fighter, don't get me wrong, and he can clearly hit. He's got himself out of a couple of sticky situations where he was losing fights, and then that big shot won in the fight.
I think it's a case that if Cordina boxes him and sticks to it and wins on points, that's no surprise, I guess. If Rakimov wears him down and stops him, I'm not surprised either. But I do think Rakimov's going to wear him down. I do agree with you on the situation with the IBF, though. It's crazy.
It's naughty, that one.
Yeah, but when you think about it as well, Nicola's good friend, Ebony Bridges, she actually was out due to an injury, and she's still out now. Not even spoke about. I mean, I don't want her to get
and the Charlos. Look at the Charlo brothers.
Yeah,
I don't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
No consistency.
No. That's kind of the point I was making, really, guys.
I've had conversations when I've been dropping Nick off, and I've said, and I told her about the Cordina situation. I says, he injured his hand and they've stripped him.
Yeah.
And she went, really? I went, yeah. I said, it's crazy.
Yeah, not right.
No, definitely not.
Lee, do you want to pick the couple of comments that Joe's left in the sidebar for me?
Yeah, so Joe said, Andy, that's their job. It's what they get paid to do, not having it. I think he's referring back to the Dare to Be Great comment.
Can I just come back on that before you go to the next one?
Yeah, go for it.
My point, Joe, is that it is the job, but my point is that nobody does it. How many male fighters do what Sandy Ryan's done? I understand that the female divisions are not quite as stacked at the minute. That's building as the years are going on. I get that. But even so, to be fighting for a world title in 7 fights, to be fighting someone of the stature of Erica Farias after 3, it's you don't see that. Very rarely do you see that in the male divisions. That's all I'm saying. That's the point I was making. Go on, Lee, carry on.
He's also gone on to say he thinks Rakimov wins on points, and he agrees with the lads. Take Cordina's knockout away, and he hasn't been as impressive as you would think. Which, like I said, I I totally agree with that. I think because of that knockout last year against Ogawa, who's very good, very, very good boxer, it probably hyped him up a bit more than what he should be. I want him to win. I'm not taking anything away from him. That he is good, but I think Rakhimov is better than people are giving him credit for, personally. But you've got to remember as well, Cordina's been out of the ring for best part of a year, and he's been in and amongst a gym that has had a lot of controversy surrounding it over the last year, a lot of other things to deal with. Couldn't have been the easiest atmosphere to be around. I just think certain things are just going to weigh in on this fight, and yeah, I think Rakhimov will beat him.
Good point you make there about the distractions of the gym. Happy camp and all that, as they say, or not so happy camp, as they say. Yeah, be interesting to see whether that does affect him, because it might be difficult not to. Same trainer, same management. Obviously, all the guys fighting and training in the same gym all the time. It's difficult. It'd be difficult for Ben not to have negative feelings and negative thoughts that might leak into the gym. I mean, that's a mental thing, I guess, for Cordina, Daz, to keep all that out of his mind, out of his positive path.
Yeah, it should do. I mean, it should really. It should not. It's nothing to do with him, is it? I know he's got the same, same trainer, same gym, but that's not to say it's not going to come into play. There has been there's going to be a lot of fallout from that situation, I think, and there already has. But it's a tough fight, mate, and the fact that I think they're overlooking him is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Yeah, but he obviously he's very disappointed he got stripped. I mean, what other choice would you have as a fighter?
Yeah, right. So, mate, there's no consistency with IBF. There's there's no consistency with any of them. But
well, I was going to say that. I mean, you look at I don't know. Let's take Leo Santa Cruz as an example. I've banged on about it 1,001 times. He was nearly 4 years without defending the title.
Yeah,
I mean that's disgraceful.
Yeah,
Cordina gets stripped. I know it's a different governing body, but gets stripped, having not made a defence because he was injured.
Being injured.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not great.
Okay, so we've been through the card. Just a quick round robin on what you think of the card. Is it one of the best that we've seen so far this year? Lee, come to you first.
I'd actually say on the whole, I'm not sure Eddie Hearn's put a better British card on DAZN so far. I think it's probably the best one he's put on.
Yep.
Might not be as many household names to the casuals, but believe me, if you watch that, you're going to see some entertaining boxing on Saturday night. I think it's a very, very good card.
Some good matchups, isn't there?
Yep. Yeah, it's a great card.
Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's his best card, and let's hope it's a sign of what's more to come this year.
And Daz, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Do you know what? On an Eddie Hearn card, usually there's one fight that I think, yeah, I want to. I'm interested to see that. There's about 5 on this one. So
yeah, I agree.
It's a bonus.
I think they're really good. Okay, moving on to the next topic. Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. We touched on this on Saturday night, just filling a bit of time in on the marathon 2-hour show that we did. Let's go in a little bit more in depth here and get a bit more strategy on how you think the fight plays out. I'll come to you first, Daz. Firstly, tell me how you think the fight goes, and then give me a prediction on how you think it goes.
Sign of a cracking fight is because I've sort of changing me. Well, I'm not changing my mind on my prediction, but I'm doubting it because I mentioned something on Saturday night. I don't know if you remember, where I've watched them both. I like them both, and obviously Tanks throws that overhand right,
Yeah.
Throws it over, and then I look and I think, well, Garcia's speed, and I think if I were training Garcia, I'd be thinking, you know what? When you see that coming, that right hand, let's slam that left hook inside it. Do you know what I mean? And it easier said than done. Don't get me wrong, but he's fast enough to do that. And Tank throws it quite wide.
Yeah.
Can throw it quite wide, and so there's the room for it to come in. And I think if he throws it wide, and Garcia, lands that inside, while I'm not saying he's going to lay Tank out with it, you get it with a shot you don't see, put you in trouble. And I just think if I've spotted that, maybe Garcia's team have spotted that.
So are you changing who you think's going to win the fight there, Daz?
No, mate. No, I won't do that. No, I do. No, I think I've sort of like saying it because I think if Garcia wins, I won't be as surprised as what I would have been. I still think Tank's going to win. I think he's going to be, but like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. If I think Garcia's team spotted that, maybe Tank's team know that Garcia's team had have spotted that. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a chess game, Daz.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. So it's just a little faction where I think if I were Garcia's trainer, that's one of the things that I'd look to try and exploit. That right hand up at top, being quite wide. But like I say, Tank might, do that on purpose. He might, he might throw that wide, but bring uppercut in. Good to throw it wide, feint it, bring it to the side, throw uppercut up, left uppercut up through. You don't know, dear. There's a lot of things that can happen, but I just think Tank's gonna. I think if Tank catches him, like Luke Campbell did, it's over.
Yeah.
And Luke Campbell, did all right, didn't he? Campbell did well. But I think if Tank catches him, like that, and I think he will at some point. I think it's over. He won't be taking a shot. He won't be taking a shot flush like that off Tank and getting up. I don't think.
Lee, I'll come to you next. Same thing. Give me a breakdown of how you think the fight pans out and who wins.
Yeah, I'll just pick up what Joe said. He said, I've got a sneaky feeling for Garcia mid-round stoppage. I think the reach and speed could negate Tank's power. That's interesting because, I think Garcia is going to be up on the cards. I think he's going to win rounds. But for me, I think there are holes in his defense. And I think against someone like Tank, especially someone like Tank who everyone says Tank starts slow. He does, yes, but he sets traps. I think he weighs up. Now, the way Garcia possibly wins is if Tank underestimates him in that sense. But I don't anticipate him doing that. But I do see Ryan winning rounds. I do see Ryan being up on the cards. But at some point, I think Tank is going to get to him. It's that thing that we've said, which we said with Wood and Lawrence, we've said with Wilder. Garcia's got to be brilliant for 12 rounds. Tank's only got to be brilliant for 12 seconds. You know what I mean? And I think at some point, which I'm going to pick round 7, I think Tank will stop him because I don't think his defense is all that. But every part of me wants Ryan Garcia to win because he's been drained down. He's given into every demand on the negotiations. There's a one-way rematch. And I think if Tank wins, I think he's the A side in any other negotiations with the PBC. Whereas if everyone's wanting to fight Garcia, I think he makes fights more accessible, especially with Golden Boy DAZN. So, I want Garcia to win, but I'm going to go Tank round 7 with Garcia up on the cards at the point of stoppage.
Sean?
Yeah, a bit like Lee, really. But I think with Tank, I think a lot of people underestimate his opponents and who he's fought already in his career compared to Garcia. And I think that will have a telling sort of attribute in the fight. And I see Tank stopping him much like he did with Santa Cruz. I think it will be carbon copy near enough. And I think he wins in probably round 5-6.
You make a very good point there, Sean. I didn't think about the past records. Tank's fought fighters levels above what Garcia's fought.
Rolly, no.
No, well, who's Garcia actually been in with that's at that level?
No one really.
So he's going into a fight against a world level fighter, and he's not been in with a world level.
You could
fighter.
argue best person Garcia's fought is Luke Campbell.
And Campbell was well past his best, right, Daz?
Yeah. I mean, he had better days, definitely, but you could argue that he's Ryan Garcia's best opponent.
I'd say he probably is as well.
And he's
so
that. But this could also be Ryan Garcia's coming out party.
Of course,
Who
he's
knows?
very capable, mate.
This is why we're looking forward to it.
He carries power. And he's got the reach advantage.
He beat Fortuna, didn't he? Which I'd say that's probably his.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. He carries power. He's very quick, and he has the reach advantage. It's all down to what Tank brings. Yeah, very funny, Lee. Very funny, Joe. It's all down to what Tank brings to the table. In my opinion, if Tank can win this fight quite easily if he fights the right fight. Because in my opinion, Garcia will give Tank lots and lots of trouble for the early rounds.
Yeah.
But I agree with what Lee said. That Tank works fighters out and he sets traps.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And Garcia gets a bit greedy. If he's having success, he gets a little bit greedy, and he also leaves his chin right up in the air, which is perfect for that big overhand right.
Remember,
Tank throws rounds as well. He's commonly thrown rounds, and he leads fighters into a false sense of security. It's very, very clever, and you've got to have a certain level of like supreme confidence in yourself to allow fighters to do that against you, knowing that you're going to exploit the confidence that they're getting against you.
He'll read what you do as well.
Yeah. And I'm not sure Garcia's. I think Garcia's got lightning speed, and I think he is a good boxer, but I don't know if he's that smart to figure that out with Tank when they're in the ring. Whether he can adapt to that, I don't know. I think he might be winning rounds, getting overconfident. I don't know whether he's got the discipline. This is the thing. That's the thing for me. Has he got the discipline? If he has, then I could see him winning on points. But I don't think that will happen.
I think Tang does things in a repeated way and figures out how you react to these things.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like Lee said, he'll do him, and he'll necessarily be losing rounds, but it's just for that one split second that he needs for you to do the same thing, and then he does what he does. I mean,
same with Crawford, isn't it?
Yeah. This fight's got a bit of a. To me, he's got a little bit of a Canelo Khan about it. You know, I thought Khan were doing really well.
Yeah.
You know, mate, I had Khan winning most at rounds, but you just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like Brook against Golovkin as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Brook, exact same thing.
Listen, let's not like you said, Brook were doing well.
He was.
But you just knew it was going to happen. And I think there's a case, I think someone highlighted Canelo, not to take away from it's Tank and Garcia, but I put Tank in that sort of intelligence where I think when Canelo fought Billy Joe, someone broke it down and shown you that Canelo were doing something. And every time Billy Joe reacted by dipping forward. So one time he did it and dipped forward. Obviously, Canelo changed the shot and threw the uppercut.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think Tank's got that level of where he'll set traps, and then he'll. But if he's setting traps and Garcia stays disciplined, you know, he could not step into them traps.
That's where we don't quite know with Garcia. is he experienced enough
That's the
Perfect,
beauty
to
of it.
work that out in the ring?
perfect
That's the
analogy
beauty
of it is what Lee said earlier. Is Garcia's got to be perfect for 12 rounds. Tank don't need to be perfect for 12 seconds, does he?
Hmm.
1
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 second, one shot.
Yeah.
One click. Because let's be right, if he hits Garcia flush, he's probably going to knock him spark out. Right? If he doesn't knock him spark out, he's going to be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and then Tank will jump on him.
And Tank will jump on him, and it'll more than likely get 9 times out of 10 it'll get stopped. He won't survive having his head scrambled off Tank.
One thing I would say though, which is refreshing, is at least this fight is happening at the right time for it to happen.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%.
It wouldn't have been any better if it had happened before now, and it wouldn't be any better if it happened after now. This is literally the perfect time in both of their careers for this fight to happen. You don't see that happen very often. Normally, by the time these fights do eventually happen, they're past their sell-by date, aren't they? But this is perfect timing.
It is. You've got to give a lot of credit to. You got to give a lot of credit to both teams, haven't you?
Yeah.
And Garcia's daring to be great, by the way.
Oh God. When did? Who can you remember who first coined that phrase?
I don't know.
Because you know, the first time I heard it, I think we're Brooke v. Golovkin.
Right.
That's the first. I'm not saying it weren't said before that, but the first time I really heard it was Brooke v. Golovkin, I think.
Makes sense, doesn't it, for that fight?
Yeah, I mean, he was doing all right, but you just had that. It's that inevitability in it. You just knew it were gonna.
Other than a broken orbital bone, that was a win-win situation. No
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
The thing is, he was getting paid an absolute astronomical amount of money that he didn't earn at any other time in his career for that fight.
But there's talk though, Andy, that it ruined his career.
Well, I think it ruined his career because he wasn't the same fighter after that, mate. He had to. I think the orbital bone was one thing. He didn't fight as aggressively because I don't think he actually believed that was properly healed. And then he goes in against Spence and does the other one.
Would just from a trainer's point of view, I'll ask you guys first for your opinion, then I'll give you mine quickly. You've got a fighter who you've trained from being a kid. You've seen him win a world title and all that. You've got more of a bond than a trainer fighter with him. You know, he's one of the best welterweights in the world. You get a phone call against, you know, do you want to fight? Probably want to face his. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think Golovkin were a one-hit knockout puncher. I think he's a very, very hurtful puncher. You know what I mean? I don't think he were bang, you're out. I think he were a puncher, you know, he'd land and you'd think, I don't want another one of them. You know, I can't be taking another one of them. You know, very, very, probably on verge of being, you know, that sort of puncher.
Yeah.
Very hurtful puncher. Definitely the biggest punching middleweight about. So would you, you know, would you have taken that? Would you know jump in 2 weight divisions? I know Brooke were a big welterweight. You know, Kell's a big welterweight, but would you have really took that?
Who's that one going to first, Daz?
Any of you? Start with Lee.
I think at that point in his career, Daz, it was he could only get himself motivated for big fights, for big names. He wasn't getting the Khan fight anytime soon at that point because Khan was evidently ducking him. And I think obviously you saw with Khan, Canelo, and I think he just wanted. I think he wanted the headlines. I think he wanted the limelight. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but if you're the trainer, probably not. But they butted heads over his career all the time anyway, didn't they? Because I think he had his best interests at heart. But I think Kell had so much desire to be great. And I think he just struggled to get in the ring against people that he knew would give me. Do you know what I mean? I think he struggled to get himself up for those fights. But you can't blame him for taking them. And you look back at his career and you think, Christ, he only lost to 3 of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
Canelo, Golovkin, and Crawford. beat
Well,
Spence.
Spence.
Errol Spence, and he beat Sean Porter.
Yeah.
And probably had the perfect end to his career, which unfortunately I don't think it will be the end because I think you will see him again. But
Yeah, I think you will as well.
yeah,
Sure.
My opinion, Daz,
Oh, go
is
on, Andy.
he should never have gone anywhere near him. You're talking, I mean, if you're going to jump up a couple of weights and you get the opportunity for a world title, you take on the weak link in the division. You don't take on the best. You don't take on the man that people are saying are pound for pound the most dangerous fighter on the planet. I find the decision staggering by his team. I find the approach from Eddie Hearn staggering. There was a ridiculous amount of money on the table as well. I hear what you're saying, Lee, that he wanted to be known as great, but at times you've got to step back and go, hold on a minute, what's this going to do to my career? This could be very, very dangerous. It was very dangerous, and it proved to be. Obviously, you can't see into the future, and you can't predict that he's going to get the injury he's going to get. But that aside, I think he then struggled from middleweight to get back down to welterweight and be as strong as he was before, having to lose that extra muscle, because it was pure muscle that he put on. I think he was very weak in the second half of that Spence fight because of that. I think he struggled to make the weight for that fight.
the Spence fight was before, wasn't it? I'm sure the Spence fight was before Golovkin.
No, he
it
fought
wasn't.
Spence after.
It was after Golovkin.
Was that
He broke
after?
his first orbital bone in the Golovkin fight, and the second one on the
Yeah.
other side in the Spence fight.
That's why I said there's a case for did it ruin him, because he
Yeah.
fought Golovkin and then he came back from the orbital injury
Yeah.
and went
And
straight in with
Spence.
Spence.
Yeah. But he probably didn't have a choice, mate, because he's in a position where he's got to
Mandatory, wasn't he?
defend.
Yeah.
IBF again.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the only way I would have advised him to take that fight, if it was almost guaranteed that it was known that was the biggest money fight that he could have, because obviously the welterweight division at the time was kind of all tied up, you know. But I think if it was guaranteed that sort of set him up for life, I think it's hard to not advise him to take that fight.
My opinion on it is, and I can honestly say this, if I was in that position as his trainer, I would have been saying, listen, you don't need to be going anywhere near him. It's the knock-on effect. However, if the final decision boiled down to Kell, I think,
Yeah.
you know, and then it'd have been a case of, right, you know, you make that decision, and no matter what you say, I'm with you, and then you deal with it accordingly. You know, it's not something I'd have agreed with to do. Why you'd step up 2 weights to fight, face his punching middleweight around. I mean, listen, there's an argument to say that if Golovkin were just a puncher and that's it, you know, yeah, he could have had a chance, but Golovkin's a clever fighter.
Yeah.
As well. Do you know what I mean? It were always going to be, and he put up a good show, Kel, but I think it ruined him.
I
Really
think
do.
it ruined him as well. I completely agree with you, mate. And a couple of things. I think the having to lose that muscle and get back down to welter, because Kell was known for blowing up as well in between fights, wasn't he? So he'd not only got probably he was obviously injured because of the eye. He probably put on a few extra pounds anyway, because that's what he normally does in between fights, and he's got to lose the muscle that he added on for that fight. I think he did really well in the first half of the Spence fight, but you could see, I mean, myself and Carl were at that fight, Bramall Lane, up in the gods, in the cheap seats, and I could see it coming a mile away. You could see the energy drain out of him from the 6th round onwards. There was only one way that fight was going to end up going. And I really, truly do believe that it was because of him having to get back down to welterweight. And he never made welterweight properly again after that.
I mean, it's a tough fight to come back to, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Spence. it was Spence was a little bit, not completely unknown, but he was a little bit of an unknown fighter at the time. No one knew quite how good he was.
Yeah.
So Khan probably thought I might get away with this one, but quite clearly Spence, obviously, he's gone on to be the fighter everyone knows him to be today. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and it's easy to look back and say, "Oh, you shouldn't have took it." Fighters think they're indestructible, though, Daz, and sometimes a trainer's got to be the sensible head in there, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Dom, listen, Dom might have said, "Listen, don't be taking that.
Yeah,
don't be taking that." But then if Kel decides, "No, I am taking it," then you don't want to be deserting your fighter, do you? You want to give him the best chance that you possibly can as a trainer.
but when you're getting astronomical money like he was getting paid for that fight, because don't forget that was the fight that Eubank pulled out of, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
So Eubank was getting a fortune. So Kel basically picked up that purse.
Kel would have probably got more, mate. Kel would have
Can you
probably got
imagine
more.
what Golovkin would have done to him? Oh, he'd have put him on Jupiter, wouldn't he? He honestly would have.
Kel probably did better than what Eubank would have done.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
He would have absolutely destroyed Eubank.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. It'd have been frightening. But I like I said, I mean, people look at me and they like raise their eyebrows. I think Golovkin had got the worst kind of power to face as a boxer. I don't think he'd switch your lights out with one hit. You know, probably
every single shot would hurt though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if he caught you flush on chin, he probably would. But he used to hit you anywhere, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them shots he used to. I mean, that when he arced it off at top and he'd hit people on top of head, it was like that must feel like you're in a car crash.
Mm.
You know what I mean? He knew. Do you know this is the thing with his intelligence as well, Golovkin? He knew every punch he threw and landed had a lasting effect. It's proper old school. So he knew if he hit you on the arm, your arm's going to feel it. He knew if he hit you on shoulder, your shoulder's going to feel it. You know, he knew wherever he hit you, you were in trouble. And brilliant fighter, mate. Brilliant fighter. But very hard done to in first Canelo fight, obviously, I think. But
both the first two, I'd say.
He definitely won the first one. Definitely won the first one.
I think he won the second too, personally.
He very, very good fighter. But yeah, I mean, Eubank could probably only just be waking up now.
Let's seeing as though we're talking about Eubank, it's looking more and more likely that he's taking the Liam Smith rematch. I don't know whether it's been agreed that it's at the same catch weight, but if it is, surely that's even more of a mistake than the first time round. I'll come to you, Sean. Living in the patch where Eubank's from. Actually, out of interest, Sean, what's the feeling amongst the community on Eubank and the Eubanks in the area?
Well, I would say his dad's loved in the area. The son, not so much. He's a bit of a flash out, if I'm being honest. You know, he drives around in his McLaren and his Aston Martin. He's got £4 or £5 million house in the seafront as well. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of love towards him. It's more to his dad. And in terms of boxing, I think the boxer out of the family that people want to see actually fight in the area is Harley Eubank, actually. But I think Chris, you know, I think he's at the back end of his career now, and especially how the Liam Smith fight went. I mean, we spoke about chins the other day with Joe Joyce, and I think with Eubank, the same thing's going to happen to him. I think he's going to get stopped again, probably a bit quicker, if anything.
He's had a crap career when you look at it, hasn't he? He's had a good career in the sense he's made a lot of money.
Yeah, he's pinched a living. He's
known how to sell himself, hasn't he? And he's done well in that aspect. But actual like names on his resume, he's had a crap career.
He's pinched a career, hasn't he? He's pinched a wage. That's what he's done.
Yeah.
You know how he's earned more money than some top proper top level middleweight.
Probably a lot of them put together, mate.
Yeah,
he's earned a fortune.
Yeah, he has. I mean, to have, like Sean's just said, to have a £5 million house, a McLaren. I mean, he's not just got a normal McLaren. He had loads of. It's probably an £500,000 worth of McLaren.
Yeah,
the thing is, he's held promoters up to ransom.
Yeah, and he's not half the fighter his dad were.
No.
Not even close.
Not even a quarter.
No.
The fighter his dad were.
The thing he lacked the most, in my opinion, was ringcraft. He didn't know what to do half the time.
Do you know what I think he lacked? I think he lacked his own identity.
Yeah. He listened to his dad for way too long, and his dad was shot to pieces advising him.
When he was trying to box like his dad, because his dad were, I mean, his dad was super fit, super fit, but he didn't exactly have the highest work rate.
He was a warrior once, his dad.
Yeah, but his work rate wasn't massive, Chris Senior. However, Chris Senior could switch your lights out with one hit.
Yeah.
Whereas Chris Junior couldn't.
No, I don't think so either.
You know, but saying that, Chris Junior's fitness were insane as well. Absolutely insane fitness. So why would you not box to that? Why would you not box behind a jab, throwing plenty of shots? Use your fitness. You know, I mean, no doubt he hit hard enough to gain respect, but you know, boxing like
with Junior, it was more a flurry, wasn't it? It was more a flurry of shots. He used to get inside and throw a load, you know, like a 5 or 6, 7 combination, and then get out. But I'm not convinced his fitness. He looks fit all the time.
He is fit. He is.
Yeah, you say that, but how many fights have you seen where he takes rounds off, Daz?
He's lazy though. He's late. That's because he's lazy. He's lazy. Honestly, mate, I'll stand by that. I'm not saying like now, but in the past, mate. Yeah. That guy, I've seen some of the things. He makes super fit. Yeah, super fit, right? But his dad was also super fit. But you'd look at his dad's work rate in ring, and you'd think, well, he must not be fit. You know, must not have confidence in his fitness because his dad were lazy. You know, not really an high work rate. But like I say, his dad could switch your lights off with one punch. Whereas I don't think Junior could. That's what I'm saying. He's like trying to box like his dad. He almost used to fight like he were a massive one-hit puncher. And I don't think he is.
Yeah. It's as though these days that boxing's a second thought. He probably makes more money now on the poker scene and what other interests he's got in the world than he does in boxing. And it's like he falls into boxing when he just wants a few quid.
I wish he'd go and stick to those things.
Yeah, he's one of them into now. It's like, yeah, really.
I don't think there's much left. The problem he's got, Lee, is that he talks a really good game. Without actually producing.
That's the problem. Don't mind anyone who dares to be great, but he just talks a load of crap, doesn't he? All constantly, and he's got no substance to back it up with.
No, that's it.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to talk the way he talks with the record he's got. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? Cringeworthy.
It's going to be very interesting to see what sort of persona he has in the build-up to this fight. Because surely he can't come in with the same arrogance.
Of course he will. It's Chris Eubank Jr. Of course he will. Do you know what, though? I think it's the same result, but I think it might take 2 or 3 rounds longer for it to happen this time. Because I think he'll be a little bit more switched on, a little bit more
cautious,
disciplined, a bit more cautious. But I still think it'll be the same result. But, I mean, his whole career, really, training wise, has been a farce.
Well,
who's been his trainer?
He hasn't had one.
Yeah, I mean Ronnie Davis. I mean, listen, Ronnie
The
Davis.
experience Ronnie Davis has got, and you're not
Oh
using that
mate,
knowledge.
listen, Ronnie Davis kept his dad in check. I remember Ronnie Davis slapping nearly knocking Chris Senior out
Yeah,
in
in
corner.
between rounds.
Yeah, you know, and it's like then he brought Roy Jones in, and listen, I'm Roy Jones fan, massive fan. The guy was phenomenal, but you know that sort of style, really. I mean, is that going to suit Chris? When I think Chris would be better off with work everything off a jab, you know, high work rate. But again, you know, Roy Jones could switch your lights off. You know,
Yeah.
and if he couldn't switch your lights off, he'd have you in trouble that fast.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think he's had his own identity. I think early in his career, he wanted to be his dad. Then he's wanted to be Roy Jones Jr. I don't know. I just think it's his whole career has just been, you know,
Badly managed, in my opinion. He's listened too much to his dad at times when he could have had massive fights. I agree with you. Golovkin would have destroyed him, but a massive fight and a massive payday. It's like he talked these big fights up, but then really, when it comes down to it, he didn't really want to.
Lost his pen. Right, I've got to jump off anyway, guys. But
Yeah, I'm gonna bring the show to an end anyway, Lee.
Okay.
Thanks again for all of you for joining me on screen. As always, very good chat. Thanks to everyone in the sidebar for your comments. Carl, I'll be back with us next week. Again, we do this show every single Thursday, 7:00. We may jump on after the card on Saturday night. We'll see how it goes. But again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Cheers,
Cheers,
everyone.
mate. See you later.